old season is over. It's time for something new. It's time for change. It's time for new battles. It's time for new champions. It's time for Season 3. Welcome to HSR Motorsport.
Parked up outside in the old school. The new the dog always found his way back home and it's
Hello and welcome to the HSR Motorsport GT3 Season 3 Championship. Today you join us for the season finale, round 8 of 8, the final race here at the Nürburgring. But not just the Nürburgring GP layout, we are doing the Nordschleife section as well. And this is going to be the first time we've ever tried it, and I'm not sure what to expect. An absolutely insane track for an absolutely insane season. We've had some brilliant moves from overtaking drivers. We've seen some absolutely horrid moves from overtaking drivers. We've seen some brilliant four-way battles for position mid-pack, and we've seen some great consistency from the drivers out ahead who have maybe qualified out on pole and then just stayed ahead. My name's Yannis Mer, and I'm once again commentating for you guys tonight. And I'm excited to see how tonight goes. We do have a lot that could happen in terms of the championship positions up at the top of the leaderboards. Fortunately, not many drivers are absent tonight, but some key ones are. So if we do have a quick look over at the standings, unfortunately, we do not have a leaderboard set up yet, but we will at some stage in the future. So for Pro, we have Peters in P1 for the Pro class. Peters on 182 points. I can't speak tonight, sorry. Closely followed by Patrick with 179 points. And he is our first absence for tonight. Again, key figure to he's second position. And he's absent, so it's pretty much he can't do anything to gain a position, so at this point he's just hoping the drivers below him don't end up overtaking him on points or doing well during the race at all. His rival then is going to be Morris with 174 points, and then P4 and 5 are going to be Booty and Turner, both on 162 points. So if they managed to have an absolutely cracker of a race and Morris doesn't, then Booty and Turner are going to be battling it out for P3 in the championship. But the driver at most risk is going to be Patrick. Morris is only 5 points behind, so he needs to finish about 6 positions up on Patrick. So I'm sure Patrick is going to be losing. Morris needs to make at least 6 points, which, considering we have a 16-car lobby, means, yeah, I think that is pretty much Patrick out for the count. So, yeah, unfortunately it seems like Patrick is not going to make it. He's not going to be staying in P2 for much longer, but we'll have to see how that goes. Then in Pro-Am, we've got Jackson on top, 179 points, closely followed by Verbrew, 175, but even closer is going to be Jordan with 173 points. Taylor is in P4, 166 points, and then Hosco with 156 points. And Hosco is not going to be competing tonight, so he'll probably also drop down the grid. We've also then, in the AM class, got Pulla in the lead with 182 points, closely followed by Huben, 175 points, and then even closer is once again Huben and Manship, separated by just one single point. That's for P2 in the championship. Then P4 is going to be Rucraft, a little bit of a gap, 165 points, and then Worth, also a large gap, 157. So at some points in the championship standings, close, at others, not so much. So there is plenty that could potentially happen tonight. Now we have managed to secure an interview with two of our championship leaders, and we will be having a discussion with them a little bit later on. But for now, it is just me, and we can actually have a look at the... Oh, I've got control of the camera. We can actually look at some of the liveries now that are out on track. Now, I do warn you, because it is the Nordschleife, I do not know all the corner names and stuff, so it is going to be a little bit interesting for me to well, first of all, the corner names. Obviously, I'm not German, so I won't be able to tell you what they are. And second of all, it's all blurry on my track map because it printed out really weirdly. So that's a little bit of a technical issue, but I'm sure I'll be able to identify it somewhat to some extent. Like this corner, really quick, fast into the little dip into the left hand that cuts the curb. I can still somewhat identify it, but it'll sound quite interesting. But anyway, Jordan Bobbins, currently in a Pro-Am Ferrari, and he's gone with his classic style, the dark blue with the red wheel rims, as per usual. And it is quite nice when you see these older designs. Well, I mean, not older designs, but like your usual, how do you call it, trademark designs, I like to call them. It's kind of their trademark, and we just saw a Ferrari off in the background there. I suspect that to be Morris, just the style of the rear, but we it's not confirmed. We'll have a look a little bit later. Then we've got Ty in the Porsche, also same livery as he's had for maybe about half of the season now. I saw it for the first time at round 6, but that's because I hadn't been commentating for a couple of the other rounds. But yeah, let me know, has he changed his livery between rounds 6 and 7? If he has turned up with a different livery in round 7, do let me know. And if not, then let me know when he swapped the liveries, because I know there was a change somewhere. I know he changed it somewhere. I'm just not sure when. Ooh, and I could just feel my stomach drop there as well. Just like tighten up, spasm as he almost ran wide through that section. You could hear him just trying to tap the brakes, get that little bit of extra rotation on before he goes off. Then it's going to be Jackson, our Pro-Am class leader, in a really different livery compared to what he usually has, like a matte grey and then some sort of metallic / satin look. Also quite a variable paint scheme, I guess you could call it, in terms of it goes from yellow to orange to red to purple to blue. It definitely looks unique, but it doesn't seem to stand out as much for me on the tarmac. It reminds me of Luigi and Guido. Luigi, you don't want the black wall tires, they blend into the pavement, but white wall tires, they say, look at me, here I am, love me. So I'm horrible at those kind of impressions, but that's what this reminds me of. Is it just tends to blend in with the pavement. There's nothing more to be said, but I do still like it. It is quite unique. And also it blends into the sky as well. Of course, the weather isn't too great here in the Nürburgring. The temperatures are slightly on the lower side, but shouldn't be too much of an issue. But it's the clouds that are just overcast and making things seem a bit dreary. Even though it's not, even though it's a season finale, and we should all be excited to see what happens today. So Warburton, also similar livery design in terms of the grey, but there's less of it. He's got the red highlights, the HSR Motorsport branding. Also fairly consistent with this livery. We've seen it plenty of times this season. Can't remember whether he had this on at the start of the season though. I can't remember whether he had it for rounds 4 or 5. Morris then, back out on track. I think this was the Ferrari we saw earlier. Again, very consistent on the livery. Red, white and black. Very default, but still pretty good. Other drivers out on track is Pulla, our AM class leader, with a very good BMW design. And we will be hearing from him a little later, in about 10 minutes or so, hopefully. Also quite a default BMW design. Oh, and he's gone straight on into the barriers. And that is the issue with the Nordschleife, is the moment you miss a little bit of the apex, you're into the barriers. But that was quite an interesting spot to lose it though. It seemed more like a lapse in concentration than just the usual kind of not enough rotation kind of issue. Unless he was already struggling with some sort of ailment on the car or something similar. Next on the list of drivers out on track is going to be Turner. Again, very consistent on the livery. Aqua, white and black. In fact, I've seen this livery so much on Turner's car, even in the GT4 season. I wonder whether he has had any other livery on it besides this. Let me know. If you know Turner, and you've raced with him for a while, let me know. Have you seen him in a livery other than this? Because this is quite... I know it's clean, it's simple, but it does get a bit boring after a while. Then it's going to be Huben, who is always on top of things. It is the same livery as he's had all season, but he is one of our newer drivers, and he is driving the only Nissan out on the grid, so I do enjoy seeing this thing rip around, and I always know where Huben is, that's where the action is. As we've seen plenty of times this season, he's been involved in plenty of four-man overtaking action, don't know what to call it, four-man interest points, four-man battles for points, battles for position. And then there's of course Rucroft, also rocking his regular dark blue and red livery. It took him a while to get up to this kind of style, if you get what I mean. He was driving just a plain blue and red livery for a while, and then finally just managed to get around to actually making it his, you know, making it a little more, I don't know, a little more unique, so to speak. And then next on track is going to be Ozduru, and I think this is one of our much newer drivers, as in I haven't seen him on track at all. With white, I suspect there's more to that livery than it seems, so might have just forgotten to upload it. Oh, and Ozduru's out of control into turn 1 already. You can see he's got golden rims on and green lime highlights, so I suspect he's got some sort of livery issue on there. But then finally Fox, of course, our season 3 menace, Foxy the Menace. I'm trying to, it's not a good name. What do we call him? But basically, this guy's been terrorising everyone he comes into contact with. He doesn't have quite as good a track record as most. Sorry, it started all with the season finale for season 2 when we were back at Alton Park, I believe, and it was a wet session. The track was absolutely soaked, and we saw so many crashes from this driver. We knew just purely by his driver number, because that's not usually what you look at, right? You look at the name and you think, oh, Fox has crashed, but on my contact list I only get the driver car, the car number. So I don't get, Morris and Fox has crashed. I only get 14 and 80 have crashed. And so there's somewhat, if you don't memorize them like I don't memorize them, then there's a level of anonymity that goes along with it. But when it comes to the actual, when you see the same guy crash over and over again, then you kind of pick up what his car number is, and you're like, oh yes, that's number 80 again. That's Fox, and usually that takes like 4 or 5 crashes. So the fact you can pull it up now, it's not what you want to see, but it can be entertaining to watch sometimes. I think last race at, where were we? Round 6. That was Misano, and Fox had spun out. He'd hit the rear of an Aston Martin ahead. I can't remember, possibly Osduru, and he'd taken him out, spun out, tried recovering, and then drove right into the path of the flying golden Mercedes of Turbinov, and it was quite a big impact. Not as big as I thought initially, looking at the replays, but it was sufficient to wake Fox up and be like, whoa, yeah, I need to watch what I'm doing now. And I've just had a submission for a livery for someone who thinks it hasn't uploaded for their livery. So let me just see if we can get that up on screen. Give me a moment. However, probably before we do that, we have an interview coming in a couple minutes. So we'll probably pop that up on screen after. And I actually want to see what you guys have been up to in the live chat, having let me know about Turner. Riley's in the chat. What's going on, my guy? Fellow GT4 racer. Populating the chat area on stream. I do apologise for the screen switching. It is a bit of a hassle. I apologise. Cool. Now let's see. Any new faces having joined? Booty is out on track. And actually this is the driver who asked me to submit... sorry. Sorry, English tonight. Not my forte tonight. He has asked me to show an image of what his livery would be like. There we go, searching for the word. You can tell I'm not at my best because I've got a cold. So he's asked to show his livery because we were doing liveries, so might as well. I do have the resources for that. We've got 20 seconds. So this is his livery at the moment. That's what it looks like. So it's, yeah, blue. Oh, Tesco, I see you, my guy. I worked there for about 6 months and enjoyed my time and hated it at the same time. The more loving towards the end and hating at the start. But anyway, so nice dark blue livery from Mr. Barnabas Booty, who we've seen plenty of action from during the season. So whenever you see Booty on screen, just remember that was his livery that you saw just a couple seconds ago. And now we have our AM Championship leader, Puller, joining me in the commentary box. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, other than the cold, which is doing the rounds, it seems,
Yep,
over
I
in the
have
UK.
that as well.
Way, a fellow cold sufferer.
Well.
We'll keep it short, keep the vocal cords intact. Hopefully, I've still got a couple hours to go, so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, how do you think the season has gone for everyone in general across the grid?
Yeah, it's been good. There's been good races, there's been bad races, but that's just how it goes, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know, for example, Craig, he was really frustrated last season. Didn't get any wins, no podiums. Well, 2 or 3 podiums, but not as many as he would have liked. And this season, he's been a little more on top of things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you think your season has gone? How have you performed, and how are you happy with how you've performed? Really?
I would say, yeah, there's been a couple of surprise races for me where I've been a lot quicker than I thought I was going to be. And there's been some that have been miserable, so it's just sim racing, I suppose.
Yeah, you've got your ups and downs, sometimes
Yeah.
within the same season, sometimes within the same race as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some of the ones at the start were a complete nightmare, and then I sort of found a groove, and then last time out, there was a bit of an incident, and that put me dead last, so yeah, it's just how it goes.
Yeah, and is this your first season racing with us, or will it be a second?
This is the first season, yeah.
First
It's
season.
actually my first year playing this set of Corsa as well, so...
Oh, as well. Tell us more.
Well, usually I was sort of sticking to Forza Motorsport and things like that. And I played a little bit of this earlier on in the year, but, you know, on the pub lobbies, which just aren't very good, let's be honest. Whereas when you join something like this, you get like-minded people that have got a bit of talent, so it's good.
Yeah. Okay, that's great to hear. It's always fun to hit these new racing games and, you know, find out a little more about it. And I do quite enjoy this as well. But what are your aspirations for this race? What are your goals for this one?
Honestly, I would just like to finish.
Yep.
Get around the track without causing any damage to myself or anyone else. So I'm just getting some practice in at the moment, and that's it really. To be fair, I'd like to finish high up in the class, but we'll just have to see what happens because everyone's pretty quick.
Yeah, and especially on the Green Hill, I think everyone's just looking to not make a mistake. It's one of those tracks. It's like Bathurst, really, where you're trying to just minimise any kind of mistake.
It just requires all the concentration, and there's a lot of bumps and very high curves and things like that. So yeah, if I can make it round in one piece, I'll be happy with that. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what's on everyone's mind at the moment as well.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, that's it. That's all there is to it. I know I'm not a professional interviewer, but thank you for joining us, and good luck out on track.
Thank you. Yeah, cheers for that.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
The voice of our BMW driver, one out on track at the moment. Worth has not joined yet. But yeah, Puller 4 podiums this season, 3 of which have been race wins. So he has kind of had an up and down season, as he was saying before. He's been at the top and he's been at the bottom. As he said, last race he was dead last. So there's a lot that happens within a season. Now, who else has joined? I see a familiar face of Gio Verbrew, who meets the wall in an untimely fashion, unfortunately, for both us and him, just as he hits the carousel. So Verbrew, last season, was kind of out of sight. He was not really doing much. He was kind of at the back, not really joining too many races, and the ones he did join happened to be Bathurst in the dead of night, and unfortunately being the catalyst for a couple incidents there. But ultimately this season he's been on fire. He has been absolutely sending it in the Pro-Am class, currently P2 in the standings, 175 points, just 4 points off of Jackson. So it is still very much all up for grabs for our McLaren driver. Also, looking at the livery, very nice lime, yellow and black livery. He's been very consistent with that as well. So it would be nice to see something new from him at some stage in the future. However, consistency is not Malot's game. He has been changing up his livery all season long, but always flying some sort of HSR Motorsport branding somewhere on the car, and he's gone all out for it. This time, like a little flame design. Again, same grey little, I don't know, under paint, if you want to call it. I'm not sure whether that's matte. Oh, actually that's honeycomb. It's a little white honeycomb pattern over the matte grey, and then the flame red design over the top. A little complex for my taste, just in terms of the amount of stuff on there, but all in all still alright, still pretty good. And then we have our Pro Class Championship leader just coming out on track now, Peters, leaving the pits, straight over the pit line, setting a good example for our Pro-Am and Am class drivers, unless I was just blind and not paying enough attention, which is a possibility for sure, since I can only see so much. I'm literally seeing it from your angle. But yes, Peters, again, same livery, RJB Solutions, red, black and white livery. Now, while we've been blabbering on about liveries and little Italian Fiats, we're going to talk about the standings at the moment in terms of timings. I'm actually astonished at how many times we have already had in the last half an hour, considering it is the Nordschleife. We've had 7 laps in, and currently Booty is topping the standings in the Pro Class with a 8:19.087. Apologies, almost just turned off my PC. Wrong button, 1 second. Almost just had a heart attack there. Apologies. There we go, much better. Much better than turning off the PC. Basically, my keyboard, I recently got a new keyboard, and on the white bit it says insert, which is the shortcut to open up the timing screen on the left hand side. Going to give you a little more info. But slightly more grey and faded out on the function side of things, it has a little switch off button with the words PC next to it. And yeah, I pressed function, and yeah, it did its job and switched immediately back on. So disaster averted, hopefully, unless there's like there's just this black thing in the middle. of the stream, just like this black screen that just like interrupts the whole thing. But yeah, anyways, so as I was saying before we had our little major catastrophe, we are currently looking at an 819.087 from Booty, and I still say that really weirdly. Booty, maybe, I don't know. How? Okay. Anyone who's in the chat, I appreciate. I've been putting a lot on you guys so far. How would you pronounce it? Butty, Booty, Booty. Where would you put the Butty? How would you put it? How would you say it? But anyways, that's not the important part. What is important is that Bubbins is currently half a second off of Booty, 0.545 seconds, and then it's Turner, a whole 2.5 seconds off of that time. Ty then 6.6, Jackson 7, and then it's a long way down to McKell. Oh, McElwain's joined as well. McElwain has been doing some default liveries, I'm not going to lie, but he has been good to watch in terms of racing. Let's see. Yes, he is out on track. We'll be able to see. Has he changed his livery? No, he hasn't. But it means I get to recognise these guys. I know I do complain a little bit about liveries being identical and liveries being boring sometimes, but it does help with identifying cars just straight away. So I know now whenever I see that Ferrari, oh, that's McElwain. And, you know, this just emphasises my point. I know it's Morris behind him because of that white, black and red livery. Dutton joins the chat as well. The only Lexus driver as McElwain gets a bit slidey through the fast left-hander. Oh my goodness, and he is back out with his Domino's pizza livery, the spicy sausage. I believe the ultimate spicy sausage is the name of that Lexus. And last race that we saw him for round 6 at Misano, he was very spicy indeed. He was absolutely roaring up the field, just like the chili will roar up your tongue into your throat and strangle you if it's too hot or you just have a really low pain tolerance. But what a livery to watch roaring around this track. Now, as far as I know, apparently this is going to be a night race. So we shall have to see how it all goes. We can only salivate over the liveries right now. So I shall try and get round to everyone that we can. But we do only have 18 drivers in, and the one driver we haven't checked is Hewlett, who's currently in the pits, but usually I try and avoid that because looking at a car in the pits is generally it's just not as great. Oi! Speaking of which, comes straight out of the pits. I should have said this earlier, then he would have been practicing earlier. But anyways, it's the also new livery for Hewlett for this season, not for all time. But he is rocking a really clean, really simple, really straight to the point, really professional livery made by Martin Mishka, sorry. I remember the interview. Yes, I will try and remember that now. But yes, I do love this one. A little less on the red and just more straight up white, black, some wedges, some shapes in there. A little bit of what do you call it? Wedge action. And Hewlett has had a pretty good season so far in terms of whenever he does a race, he's on top of things. And he has had a couple race wins under his belt already this season. But anyways, in the interest of finding things to chat about, in the latest news, the new GT4 season has started, and we're about to start Season 2. There! Yes, we are. Sorry, apologies. We just started Season 2. About to do Race 2. That's what I was confused about. No, sorry, we did Race 2! Yes, you can tell where my brain's at the moment. Not in my head. I do apologise. Season 2, Race 3 is coming up next Wednesday, 7 PM. But unfortunately, our commentator has retired for the moment. He is not up for it, so we unfortunately won't have any broadcast for that from an official kind of this view, unless there's someone who's happy to just do it. So if you guys know anyone who's happy to do some commentary, or even just broadcast it like this, just the look and just looking at different cars, just looking at interest points, then do let us know. And the details for the Discord will be on the starting screen, so if you just head back to the start of the stream, you'll have all the details you need to join the Discord group. And another cool thing to chat about will be scoring for the race. Obviously, it being last race of the season, it really brings to light whether drivers finishing on identical points, how will that be sorted out? You know, if someone, for example, Booty and Turner, if they both retire and they don't finish DNF, do they both just stay as they are, or do they switch around? How will all that work? I don't know. And I've actually chatted to the team owner, who is coincidentally Craig Hewlett, who we are following now, and he also doesn't know. So we'll see how this goes. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Hasn't been an issue so far, so I don't imagine it'll be too much of a fixer-upper. But really quite a quiet race tonight by the looks of the practice lobby. Only 20 minutes left and we still only have 18 drivers. So I'm not sure how this will go. And when it comes to the corner names, I'm also completely I'm lost. I mean, I can just about make it out because it's so pixelated. Again, just due to printing issues, technical difficulties, whatever you want to call it. So he's coming through. So now I just need to reorientate my map to where he is. He is just coming up onto Ordenaar Fort, I think, and then Metzgersveld, something like that. So I'll try my best tonight with the corner names, and I don't really have to turn numbers because there are so many of them. And it is that time once again where we check the contact list and we see a very familiar number. I will say no more. Cue the action. Brace for impact. So Fox coming up behind. Boom. Just straight up. Too late on the braking. And Fox rear ends Mr. Verbrew. Unfortunate chain of events. Now fortunately that is the only bit of contact we have. So, yeah, who knows? Maybe but again, yeah, Fox just unfortunately wants it. You don't want to say again. You don't want to say again. Fox again doing that. It is really disappointing. Now, what is concerning me is only 18 drivers in the practice server. Obviously, we still have plenty of time during qualifying for them to join, which is going to be half an hour long rather than just 20 minutes. But yeah, in terms of the actual drivers for the championship standings, Jordan and Taylor haven't turned up for the Pro-Am. Manship and Worth haven't turned up for the AMs. And everyone for the Pros here at least. So almost everyone who actually cares about the championship standings and stuff, and who really wants to do it up at the top, is here. But the thing is, yeah, there's a whole withdraw page on the sim grid, and yeah, it means if I've missed out on something, and there's been which I haven't, because I've checked that just a couple minutes ago, and that only has like 3 drivers withdrawing, and that was Patrick Hosco and another driver. So I'm not sure how this is gonna go. But let me just check one more time, just in case I missed it, or someone has withdrawn really recently. Yeah, only 3 drivers withdrawing from the sim grid, and if drivers do not withdraw from sim grid, they receive a penalty. So yeah, kind of a biggie if they don't make it. But anyway, our Pro-Am class leader, Jackson, joins us in the commentary box. Welcome back, sir.
Hey mate, thank you for having me.
It is good to hear you again. Hear your voice. Unfortunately, it is all virtual, so I can't say see you again, sorry. Nice to hear your voice again, to put it that way. But anyways,
Yeah, no,
this is not a new season for you. You've been here before, obviously in the commentary box, obviously, but also in the actual season. How does it feel finally being on the top again?
it's good, mate. To be fair, I'm only top because Jordan and is it Verbu?
Yeah, Verbrew, yeah.
Verbu, he's they've both dropped rounds, so I've kind of just been lucky in that regard.
Just snuck past.
Yeah, I've been consistent, fairly consistent, being a podium, which has been surprising. But those two have been on a different level.
Yeah. And how about your
I've
actual
just attended
performance?
every race. That's the only difference.
yeah. That it does make quite a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And how about your actual race results? Are you happy with them? Are you content with where you finished on the podiums or on the grid?
I'm very happy with where I finished because, when we first talked near the beginning of the season, if it was the first race or the second race, I can't remember. My goal was to hit the top 5 once in the season. I've smashed it, so I'm well happy. I'm aiming for podiums now because I've adjusted my goals. So podiums is what I'm aiming for.
Brilliant.
So
I mean,
well.
you've done pretty well. I mean, I was just looking at your results. Round 1 was a podium. Round 4 podium. Double podium actually. Round 5 podium. Round 6 it was a win. I think you had a double win in round 6 as well. So it's been podiums almost all season for you.
Yeah, it's been really good. Just got to try and keep it going. That's all I've got to try and do.
Yeah, that is the goal, and that kind of ties in. Like, obviously, what are your kind of anticipations for the next race? Obviously, the goal is to win, but what's your anticipation for this one? What do you think will happen?
Really, to be able to win Pro-Am for the whole season, I need to do really well. I need to probably beat my nearest championship contender, Verbu.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's going to be possible because this track is a bit of a red herring. I don't know how he's dealing with this track, but yeah, it's going to be, I think, up in the air a bit.
And I mean, there's only 4 points between you two. I mean, that's a little more than a podium's kind of distance you need to finish ahead, or that he needs to finish ahead of you to win. And he's still got to fight with Jordan as well, who's only 2 points behind. So he might be caught up in a little battle there instead. But yeah, it's still all up in the air, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Jordan signed out of this race, so yeah, it'll be just me and Vebru. But like I was saying, this track is wild, so anything can happen. You could go out in the first corner. Who knows?
Absolutely.
I just want to try and finish the race more than anything. Because,
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of people that will crash out.
Yeah, that's exactly what Puller was saying previously as well. On the we interviewed him about 20 minutes ago, and he was also the same thing. Everyone's just going to be like, let's just survive this. It's like Bathurst in the evening.
Yeah, it's just going to be like that. I think it will be worse because it will be forever mountain.
yeah, it's going to be this for 90% of 8 minutes. So yeah,
exactly,
I can imagine.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And you were saying earlier about your momentum and keeping that going. How do you think season 3... we're already on season 4 next season. How do you think season 4 will go for you?
I have no idea.
No idea.
Absolutely no idea, because Craig has teased saying that he's going to move me up to pro, so I don't think I'm ready for pro, because my pace is not been good enough. When I was racing against them in Misano and I was P1 for Pro-Am, I couldn't keep up with the pros.
Yeah.
But I think maybe another season I'll might be ready for Pro Series.
Oh, okay.
But personally, I don't think I've since I joined HSR, which was back right at the end of season 1. That was my first time ever doing sim racing, so and
that amount of progress is like scary almost.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Hopefully, I can keep it going and maybe move into pros sooner rather than later. But we will see. I don't want to be. I don't want to be too optimistic.
Yeah. Rather like have lower expectations and then be surprised than
Exactly. Be happy rather than sad at the end.
But then again, at the same time, if you don't push yourself, if you don't have high expectations of yourself, then you won't really get anywhere in terms of.
I'm fairly competitive, so I will push myself anyway. I don't need those goals to push me.
Yeah, absolutely, and I guess different people operate differently as well. So yeah, kind of to each their own, I guess. But anyways, I won't keep you any longer. You've got 12 minutes, and maybe time for one, maybe two, an out lap, and then one lap. Okay, let's just go with one. But anyways, good luck out there, and we'll see you at the finish line.
All right, brilliant. Cheers, mate.
As we said, that was our Pro-Am Championship leader, Jackson, currently leading from Verbrew by 4 points. So if Verbrew wants to break even, that's going to be 4 positions he needs to finish ahead of the Ferrari. And to take the position outright, he's going to need to finish 5 positions above. But as we heard from Jackson, he's just had some consistent results because Verbrew and Jordan have been fighting with each other over P2 in the championship. So while they fight, Jackson just slips by and says, "I'll take that position, thank you very much." But anyways, we've been following Ty, and I know this is probably not the observation you want to hear, but it just reminded me of an annoying mosquito. In the summer when you're lying in your bed and you hear something coming by, just those little vibrations. Like, I don't quite like that sound when I'm sleeping with my top off and it's hot and I don't want to get under a blanket. Especially in the UK where they don't really sell mosquito nets, or they're not as popular. In South Africa though, they are quite popular because we get loads of them. But what I do want to check is who has signed out of the race tonight. because I am getting some new info. And yes, indeed, Jordan is not joining tonight. So Jordan P3 in the Pro-Am Championship, who is only 2 points off of Verbrew, so close. And he won't be racing tonight, so it is possible that Taylor might take P3 away from Jordan. He's 7 points behind though, so he needs to get at least 8 points to take that position outright, which shouldn't be challenging really. And I was just looking at the leaderboard on the left hand side of your screen, and right at the top is Mr. Taylor. Car 197 in the McLaren. Now his livery is usually a yellow and red livery with a bit of with a couple spiders and bugs on it. And I didn't want to go on him really in the pit lane, but he is coming out. And yeah, there we go. The iconic livery for Mr. Taylor. And considering we only have about 7 Pro-Ams on the grid at the moment, he is almost definitely going to take P3 in the championship standings for the Pro-Am class. That is, if he finishes the race. I'm not sure whether a DNF gives you... The DNF doesn't give you any points. So he has to at least finish the race in order to actually take that position away from Jordan. But Verbrew is pretty much secure where he is. Taylor needs to finish 9 positions ahead of Verbrew, and mathematically that's not possible with the amount of drivers we have tonight. At the moment we only have 7, so we do need 2 more drivers for that to actually be possible. But I'm not sure it will. And Mr. Taylor pays his mandatory little vacation, his mandatory visit to the gravel trap at the start of the Nürburgring GP circuit. Now Brum has also joined the chat in P19. Now I can't remember what Brum's McLaren liveries used to look like, because he actually, I think in our 4 hours of Spa community racing, which we only had about 8 drivers, he was rocking a white, cream and black livery, but I can't see it now, so he's probably forgotten to upload it, or something has gone wrong with the file. The joys of getting people to sync their liveries, eh? Fun times, fun times. But anyways, we've had more drivers set some lap times. So we have 11 drivers having set a lap time, 20 on grid in total. And Booty maintains this position as Brum hits the wall on the left hand side and hits it again. And that is yet another casualty claimed by the Nordschleife. But another man has joined the race, Manship, in his trademark yellow livery, but he has spiced things up since I last saw him at Misano. He's got a little more animation on there, and on the back he's got a little black splotch on there. Not sure whether that was intentional. It does look somewhat at first, at first glance, it seems deliberate. From closer inspection, it does seem like a little bit of graffiti on the back. So maybe it was just an errant vandal deciding, hey, I don't like this colour, I want to paint it black, and got interrupted, or he's just not quite. So whoever made his delivery is not quite made the finishing touches, I think. I just want to have a look at that back end again. Or tell you what I'll do is have an onboard from the rear. Oh my goodness! Wow, that is okay. Well, we know what that is now. Wow, that is funny. That is funny. So yeah, deliberate for sure. Deliberate for sure. And while we've been looking at that, which it seems very, we've lost a driver somewhere. Not sure who it was. But we do have a load of lap times yet to be set in the last 4 minutes of practice, which of course in an 8-minute lap is not ideal. But yeah, I'm still quite concerned about the number of drivers we have in, especially it being the end of practice. We usually have about 30 drivers in. So yeah, I'm not sure how many we will have for the actual race itself. Whether drivers just dread driving here at the Nordschleife, or whether they legitimately are signing out of it just because they cannot make it. I don't know. Most of the drivers have come into the pits, but a couple have already started a lap. What we could do is have a little look at the track from the driver's perspective. So this is Ty coming through the Nürburgring GP section. A little wide on the apex. Long right-hander. There's going to be a fast left-hander, slight lift, maybe a bit of a lift and coast. Get on the power again. You can get onto that green siding. It's got a little bit of grip on there. Then come out wide, bring it about the 100-meter mark. Bring your car all the way over to the left. A little bit of braking. Again, just get that car rotated. Get on the power early. Ready for a straight, which is not really a straight because there is a little turn to the right, a little curve to the right. And then, braking really late into the chicane. That is possible because you tend to ride the curb on exit quite a lot. And then onto the Nordschleife section. Now this is where things always get hairy. Left-hander, stay off that curb. He did not stay off that curb. And neither did he stay on the right curb. He obviously can't hear me. But anyways, turn in on the little board over there. Can almost keep it flat through that right-hander. Again, keep it off the curbs for the time being. And he gets on the curb again. What have I told you, boys? Stay off those curbs. And then a little bit of camber on these so you can throw the car around a little bit. Just be aware of that rear end coming out just as he was showing us there. This is a great example of how to take the... This is perfect. Like, I'm talking and he just goes and gives me a perfect... a perfect example of how to do it. So, straight. This is the Fluchtplatz, I think you call it. Where you go almost flat out through here. Maybe a little bit of a lift through there if you are sane. If you are insane, then you will not be lifting at all. Coming over another little crest into another crest, a little bit of a lift, braking at the end of the curb into the right-hander. Stay off that curb again. Beautiful, there we go, onto the exit curb slightly, that's alright. And now through a bit of a left and right, you can keep your foot flat through here as long as you anticipate the corners. And I just find myself unconsciously rocking my body as we go through there, just because of, that's just the way you take it. And then a little bit of an interesting braking zone. You get a little bit of a tap on the brakes through there. Stay left through here, keep the braking zone as straight as possible, then into a first gear or second gear left, and then right-hander again, keeping it off the curbs perfectly this time. Then through another couple left and right smooth handers, and then an interesting, once again, braking zone here. Not really too many markers for it. Left-hander into another left-hander about halfway through. Again, just stay off those curbs. And then if you've got enough rotation through that right-hander, then you can get the car rotated through here as well. Keep that braking zone straight. And then through here it's another section where if you're sane, you're going to lift slightly. If you're insane, you're going to go flat out. Same with this. There is a bit of a braking zone, and he's hit the left wall. And then coming into a hook, he's almost put it into the wall. And, well, that's the end of the end of practice, ladies and gents. So we'll be back for the quali action in just a second. Give us a moment just to get the broadcast up again. And there we go, quali is now underway. Now if you've been with us for a little while, you will know about the split quali. That usually happens with the 20 minutes. It's usually first 10 minutes for AMs and Pro-Ams, and then last 10 minutes for Pros only. However, because it is the Nordschleife, they've said the Pros go out first, do their out lap, and once they're passed, then the AMs and the Pro-Ams can come in. And that way, there is still, you know, about the Nürburgring GP circuit length distance between these guys. I know it's not a distance; it's a time. But hey, we can't get technical on that stuff here, which really gives me an internal dilemma as a physics A-level student, who is always talking about mass and weight and how mass is kgs and not weight, which is a force measured in let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the racing. Morris currently in the Ferrari, car number 14. I don't think he's the first car that's going to set a lap, but he is on an out lap. It seems to me. So let's follow him. Morris currently P3 in the Drivers' Championship standings for the Pro class. However, he is going to be taking P2 almost guaranteed after Patrick's withdrawal from this race. Unless Morris can't score any points, which would be a shocker. But as we've heard from the other drivers, not entirely impossible. And we've had two new drivers join the grid, which will be Matthews and Davies. Also some familiar names. Now let's see how the Pro takes these corners. Again, turn in there, a little bit of a lift. We'll get our little track guide from the Ferrari driver. Really quick through there, get it slowed down before the barriers. And then again, just a little bit, small taps to the brakes, get that thing rotated, use the camber, trust the car. Kind of there, it's a lot about kind of your own judgment as to where your braking marker is, because it is quite tricky there. There are no natural braking markers. If you've got your eye on one particular oak, then it might be gone next year, so you really shouldn't be looking at the local nature, what do you call them, nature exhibitions, nature things, I guess, as your little marking points. However, because it is a game, you can do that. You just can't really see the trunks as well. And that is Morris going flat out through that little left-hander section. So he's one of those insane guys. I thought he was sane earlier, going through Fluchtplatz. But yeah, he's proved to be quite the opposite, really, coming through those right-handers. Looks like it is going to be car 66 to cross the line first and set his time. It's going to be Turner in the McLaren. So, picking up from where Ty left off, a little bit of a sideways moment for the Ferrari driver. We're almost at the section where Ty was suddenly interrupted from doing his lap. Somewhat rude, but somewhat understandable as well, since they would have to wait another 4 minutes. Morris coming through the left-hander, now the right-hander into the braking zone. There's a little bit of camber on the inside there. You can see he turns in quite early for that. And this is where the dark pavement starts, and then turns back to grey again. This is where Jackson's car might get lost a bit. And now here we go. Ooh, absolutely flying into the corner through the right-hander. Right, now this is where we can pick it up again from where Ty finished off. Through the right-hander, get that braking in a straight line, brake it roughly where that asphalt starts. They can either run it out wide or keep it in close for the braking zone in here. Lots of camber, lots of compressions, but the moment you cross that halfway line, the camber goes in the opposite direction, so you need to really watch that rear end on the exit. Now through the left-hander, keep it flat, then into the braking zone again. That comes a little earlier than you anticipated to. Late apex for this right-hander again. Plenty of camber, plenty of compression, and now you're on to one of the fastest sections of this whole course. And yes, there are many, but it's very long, continuous little left-handers. Just little kinks in the road. Another right-hander. And the moment the right-handers start, you start pricking up your ears for the braking zone. It's 1, 2, 3 right-handers, and then the first left-hander you pick up. Oh, there's brakes on the right-hand side. Lift off or brake slightly, depending on how much aerodynamic weight you have on the car. How much aerodynamic, what do you call it? How much downforce you have on the car. There we go. But anyways, now into that tricky braking zone. The right-hander, long right-hander. Not sure where I need to apex for that. Myself, I'm still quite a bit dodgy on that. Where the curb kind of bends, it's into the carousel. One of the most interesting parts of the track. And taking the inside is definitely much faster than going around the outside. Now into another couple right and left-handers. Here, onto the artificial grass. You're going to get the braking zone right at the start of the curb. And then again, just stay off those curbs if you can. And absolutely sending it through the right-hander there. Now into another couple fast right and left-handers where you might just have a little squeeze on the brakes. You can use a little more of the curbs there, and that actually does give you plenty of time, especially out on exit. Again, quite fast through here, relying a lot on the aerodynamics. And there we go, out onto the most viewed corner on YouTube. Through the left-hander, there's a little bit of a compression there as well. And you can use the exit curb. Now this is the tricky bit, because this is where your car might go airborne for a little bit. If he's sane, he'll lift. If he's insane, he'll lift while he's in the air and not while he's on the ground. Perfect. Now through the left-hander again. If you don't take this preemptively, that happens. You hit the grass, and you hit the gas again. So you need to be anticipating the track here. You need to know it well enough to know where you need to start turning in for the next corner. Otherwise, you might find your car airborne in more ways than one. Through the right-hander, into the braking zone for the left-hander. This is usually taken in about gear 3, gear 4. You can use the exit curb slightly, but not too much. Again, another carousel. And if you get the mid-corner speed right, you'll go absolutely flying out of that carousel. Maybe slightly airborne once again. Slight lift and a slight brake through there. And if you've got your line right, you can go flat all the way out onto the exit, onto one of, well, the longest straight, sorry, of the whole circuit. Now, I wonder, because car 66 is ahead of car 14, which is Morris, that we're following on right now, and there are no times set yet. So I'm not sure what that means. But we shall see as he comes through the left-hander. Oh, there it is. There's the timings. Just came in late. Through the fast left-hander. Right-hander, no! And he's binned it! Right at the end! Oh my goodness! Into both walls at high speed. That is horrifying. I cannot believe that happened right at the end of the lap. It wasn't the perfect lap, but it was definitely an alright lap. Not one to throw away. But that means that Dutton then is going to be the next driver to cross the line. Oh my goodness! Catastrophe for Morris, car 14, P3 in the championship. He has not managed to finish a lap yet. And here's Dutton going slowly. Is there an issue with his car? Has he hit the wall somewhere? Don't think so. But let's go through the last section. We couldn't do so previously. But anyway, through that right-hander, it's a little bit of a chicane through there. Again, stay off the curbs, exit, out onto the main straight, and across the line. And Matthews has set a time. Can you believe it? Matthews already out on track. Now Dutton starts his lap time. But at the moment, it's Peters, Turner, and Matthews, the only three drivers to have set a time. Peters with an 8:20.6, Turner 8:24, and Matthews 8:42. Now car 28 is coming down the main straight. That's going to be Booty in the Ferrari. We saw his dark blue livery earlier, but now we get to look at his nice carbon fibre hood as he comes down the main straight, absolutely flying by at about 350, 380 kph, which in miles per hour is maybe 210, 220-ish, something like that. Into the final chicane, and what time will it be? He was on top during practice. Here's Morris coming back out and fortunately sees the Ferrari in his rearview mirrors, and that is Booty taking pole position by 3 seconds. Provisional pole for the Ferrari driver from the other Ferrari driver. Now Polar is going to be one of the next drivers to cross the line. Coming through the final section, and we'll start to see that timing tower fill up with orange times. And we still only have 22 drivers on the grid, which is really quite, again, concerning, because I don't want to just be commentating on 22 drivers. I mean, it is a few. Like, it is better than just 10. But yes, no one else has withdrawn from the session. So either they're going to lose points, or they've all just saved it and been like, nope, I'm not doing this race, and I've planned it. Now, what I've not told you so far, if you're joining us for the first time, is that there is a prize pot that these drivers will be winning after tonight's race. But that is going to be purely in the Discord, not streamed unfortunately. But if you fancy standing a chance at winning a prize pot at some point in the future with us, then join the Discord and join the races, join the championships, and then you stand a chance. You don't have to win, all you have to do is compete. You only have to finish the races. You have to finish almost every race in the championship. But if you do, you stand a chance. It's going to be like a random draw, and then you stand a chance at winning, I think, about maximum £75 or so. We had that with a GT4 season, where the first guy won £75, second driver £50, and then the last guy won £25. It's kind of £150 split between 3 drivers. But anyway, 15 minutes left in quali, and the drivers have started setting their times. Bobbins now P4 overall, P1 for his class, 7.1 seconds off of Booty, so that means it's going to be an 8.24. And then Warburton in P6, qualifying pole for the AM class currently, with a 8.31.852. And yeah, we've got another contact on the contact list. Hazard a guess at who it might be. Yeah, a certain car 80 maybe. Let's see what Mr. Fox has done this time round. Well, let's first check up on Rucroft, who's just gone round in front of our screen. That was, well, perfect timing. So Rucroft then, back up to speed. Let's see what happened to him. And ironically, who's behind him? Fox. Let's hope this wasn't a collision coming through the left-hander onto the curb for the right-hander. I suspect he's hit the curb wrong. And there he goes, flying across the screen. If we could see that from a different angle, that would have been a lot nicer. But anyways, so I suspect do that right-hander just onto the brakes a little too much. And of course, with all that weight on the front, he's gone and spun himself out, unfortunately. So a little bit of oversteer. That means is that going to be invalidated, but he has already put in a lap. So that is fortunate, at least. But he is going to finish that lap, though. And he is closing on his best time. So that is also something to look forward to. But anyways, as we were saying, Fox with a collision on car 343. That's going to be Ozduru. Let's have a look. Coming out the pit lane, as all good drivers do. Comes out to the side, taps with Ozduru. And yeah, a couple violations of the HSR policy when it comes to racing and qualifying. You may not overtake during qualifying unless the driver ahead is purposefully allowing you to overtake by going slowly, or if you find they're tailgating you. Yeah, you kind of if you're on an out lap and the other driver's on a flying lap, then you have to let them past, kind of like blue flags. And if they're obviously faster and you're a sensible person, you will let them by. So yeah, there's all of that, and I don't think Ozduru quite deserved that punishment from Fox from round the outside. And of course, Fox you went flying out the pit lane in the first place, which is of course an unsafe release. And in the race, he would receive a stop and go 30, I believe, for that. Oh, and Verbrew almost serving Fox some of his own medicine. Of course, the issue is, if Verbrew were to do it, and Verbrew has stopped in the middle of the track because of that, I'm assuming, if Verbrew had done that, he would be the one receiving the blame. So, yeah, there's all that to take into consideration. But anyways, the drivers continue to pile in the lap times. Pull up P2 for his class, Matthews P3 in the AM class, Ty in P2 for the Pro-Am class, Verbrew P3. Fox currently following P4. And then in the Pro class, only 3 drivers have managed to set a lap time. So that's quite interesting. It means that the Pro class drivers are probably putting in a lot more effort. They're on the limit a lot more than these other drivers are, which means that they make a little more. They make a couple more mistakes, and therefore lose it. But Peters, though, is fighting back. The first battle of qualifying. Peters now with an 8:16.2, taking pole position away from Booty in the Pro Class. Car 77 taking away from Car 28. Two Ferraris battling for provisional pole. What is Booty's response? He's about halfway through the track right now, so we shall check up on him in a couple moments if we find someone of interest to watch. Who hasn't set a lap yet? Manship is coming down the main straight right now. Obviously one of our AM class drivers aiming at... Well, he is in P3 for his championship, so you need to finish miles ahead of Hubin, who is in the race itself as well. Hubin actually about to set his own lap time, so there's still plenty that could happen. Let's see what does happen. So the timing board does take a while to register, but seeing as Manship just came over the line and set, well, seeing that Manship's time just got listed and Hubin's not, and that Hubin crossed the line before Manship did, I'm assuming Manship got an invalid lap time, so he's only got one more lap essentially in him, one more lap to set it, and set his time. But Manship then takes P3 for his class, currently P9 overall, P3 for his class. And he does finish miles ahead of Hubin. In fact, the AM class drivers have turned out in force today. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 drivers. So, in theory, if Hubin finishes qualifying behind Ozduru and Manship manages to take provisional pole from Warburton, that's going to be a change for position in the championship standings. Now, unfortunately, Manship won't be able to take the championship win for his class, but he will take P2. But we've seen Hubin's fighting spirit throughout the whole championship, so I'm sure he won't just let that happen. He won't allow him to just walk over him. Now, I swear we had Mr. Craig Hewlett, one of the pros, in here previously, but he has disappeared from the timing board, and we still only have 22 drivers out here on track, which is, again, I suspect this is all we're gonna get. Sadly, unfortunately, this is all we're gonna get. So yeah, it is kind of quite a quiet one, and unfortunately, it being the season finale, that's not exactly what you want to see, but sometimes you just don't have a choice. Sometimes it's just down to the drivers, and if they're not feeling up for it, then they're not feeling up for it. So you kind of need to respect their decision. But anyways, you hope. So Booty is quite far around the track. He's coming through the last couple sections now, almost onto the main straight. So Peters obviously set the fastest lap time, and now Booty has to respond with an even faster lap time. That carbon fibre, but also what we can't see, blue Tesco liveried car onto the main straight. Does he improve on his time? Turner is also having a look at an improvement as a Pro Class driver. But here's the thing. On the timing screens for me, it says that Booty has invalidated his lap time. So he's either going to have one more final shot at setting a lap, or he's going to have to admit defeat and take P2. So let's see what happens as he crosses the finish line through the final chicane. Neatly avoiding that last curb. Little wobbly on the exit. Coming across the line. Yes, it is a valid lap time, but unfortunately not enough improvement. He's still about a second off of Peter's time. So he has one more shot available at taking P2. Sorry, P1. He is currently P2. So, yeah, he obviously will have a shot at doing so. But anyway, Huber now about halfway through the track to take his lap. We've got Puller currently coming through the start. And looks like he hasn't validated his lap time. So he won't really be able to improve on his times. But yeah, now you can start seeing the splits properly. You can see the pros up at the top. Those are the drivers with the white backgrounds behind their car numbers. And then the grey background for the car numbers is going to be Pro-Am and red is Am. It's a pretty simple system. You can figure it out for yourself, I'm sure. But yeah, it just means I don't have to keep saying, and I'll keep saying it. Never mind. It's yeah. I'm running out of things to say. To be honest, it is quite a quiet race tonight, unfortunately. And Riley is back. Don't you take that back, young man. I saw that. Maybe he returned for a second and he doesn't want to see it. But yes, I saw it. Don't worry. Anyways, Puller back into the pits. He admits defeat, taking P2 for the qualifying. Now, McElwain and Taylor still need to set their times. Taylor about halfway through the track. Sorry, this is McElwain. This is Taylor. A little further on in the track, through the interesting section. Is he a sane man? Coming through the carousel. Let's see where he finishes up. Sorry. Because Taylor, of course, is in P4 for the Pro-Am class, with Jordan just ahead in P3 for the Pro-Ams. But Jordan has signed out of the race, so as long as Taylor finishes the race, he can take P3 for the championship. So there's an awful lot going on this race. But he has been seeming slightly on the limit and slightly over the limit at times. However, the track is at optimum grip levels, which is ideal. Obviously, optimum means ideal. But yeah, it seems like Taylor's just trying to push every little drag of performance out of that yellow McLaren. Almost called it a Lamborghini for some other reason. I think we only have one Lamborghini in the whole championship. We have not had many at all in the entire history, in fact, of HSR Broadcasting. And that was Taylor absolutely sending it over the ridge. So he is the sane person. We have determined that as he lifts for the crests. If you weren't here for the discussion earlier, we concluded that a sane man will lift through Fluchtplatz and through that little jump. An insane man won't. So yeah, there's that. But obviously it's all just jokes. Disclaimer, it's all jokes. Don't take this too seriously. It is a game after all. We are all here to have fun. And that is a black car ahead. That seems a little too chunky to be Booty in the Ferrari. However, Booty is out on a flying lap. That looks more like the Nissan of Huben. You can see the big round rear lights of the Nissan from miles away. So the only drivers not to have set a lap are going to be P18 down to P22, Morris, Huben, Osduru, McElwain and Taylor. Now for Huben, that's an issue. He's currently P2 in the championship, only separated by 1 point to Manship for his position. So if Huben can't get that position done, there is actually the possibility of Manship taking P2 away from Huben in the championship. And Huben, meanwhile, he needs to finish 7 positions ahead of Puller to break even to take the championship win. So for him, obviously, that's not great either. Then in P18, it's going to be Morris who needs to improve in this time. because he will take P2 away from Patrick, because Patrick has withdrawn from the session. But he then needs to make up 8 positions to Peters if he wants to take the championship win. He has quite a gap down to Booty though. And because of the amount of drivers in here tonight, he's almost assured of his position as long as he can finish. And then it's a massive battle between Booty and Turner, potentially for P3 in the championship standings if they can keep it clean. And there we go, the numbers drop down now as to who hasn't finished a lap time. And so then it is Peters, Booty and Turner for the Pro Class Championship leaders. Bobbins, Ty and McElwain for the Pro-Am. Warburton, Puller and Manship for the Am class. So the drivers that haven't set a time yet is going to be Morris and Ozduru. Ozduru in the Aston Martin. Right at the end. Come on. Cross that line, brother. We need you to cross that line and set a time at least. And unfortunately he succumbs to injuries inflicted by the Nordschleife. There's going to be him out of the race for qualifying. I just realised that was a really confusing little sentence there. He's out of qualifying. Done. And Riley giving support for Aaron Manship. So Manship does seem to be... he seems to be looking at a position change with Hubin. However... have I just been lying this whole time? Yes, I have, sorry. Rucroft is supposed to go up 9 positions to change position with Manship. Manship is only 1 point away from Hubin. So, yeah, there's actually a whole lot... there's a smaller gap there. Apologies. So Hubin then is in a heap of trouble. He has not managed to set a lap time, but Manship has. So Manship will be starting way ahead of Manship. Manship will be starting way ahead of Hubin, and there's only 1 point separating them in the championship standings. So Hubin is going to need a massive recovery race now in order to make up that position. But fortunately, because we only have about 22 drivers on the grid, it's not an impossible task, but we do have some final lap dramas. 1 minute remaining, but it's Booty out on track. He's currently P2, looking at taking provisional pole away from Peters. Is it going to be possible coming through the final section onto the final straight? 50 seconds left, last lap of qualifying. Does Booty take pole? Yes, he does! Can you believe it? By almost a second. Incredible final lap grasp at the straws puts Booty onto pole position for round 8 of season 3. So join us. I need water. I know you will probably need a good drink, because we're going to be settling down for 1 hour of racing here at the Green Hell in just a couple moments. And here we go. Final race of the season, round 8, here at the Nordschleife season finale. And it is going to be 1 hour of racing. Fortunately, not in the evening, so we do get to salivate at the liveries as they go by. And we get to see some of the spicy sausage, hopefully eating up some of the competition, as we saw at Misano last week. Hopefully some moves from everyone, really. I'm not just supporting Dutton. He was just great last time we watched him. He was real good fun. So, going down the grid, Booty in the black Ferrari taking pole position. Alongside him is Peters in the Ferrari, our current championship leader. Booty is currently 17-20 points off of Peters, so not really going to be taking the championship win if he wins here today, but it'll be nice to have it under the belt. Turner in P3. So he's going to be battling with Booty for P3 in the championship as long as they cross that line. So Booty and Turner then are going to have a nice battle there. Then for the Pro-Ams, it's going to be Bobbins taking P1, Ty P2, and McElwain P3, that blue, white and black Ferrari. And then for the AM class, it's going to be Warburton taking pole position, Pular P2, Manship P3, and those are some big names in the championship standings. And then the rest of the grid up at the back there, and Huben qualifying last, unfortunately. Really unfortunate for that Nissan driver, and he needs to finish ahead of Manship. At least he needs to finish ahead of Manship, because otherwise Manship is going to take that position. And Manship is currently a couple good positions ahead of Mr. Huben right at the back. So plenty that could change over the course of this race. The final one of Season 3. And our first race here at the Nordschleife. And as we heard from our two interviewees, this track is scary. This track is comparable to Bathurst in that you don't race this and are aiming for a good position. You race this and you hope to survive. So, yeah, there's that. So I'm sure everyone will be slightly cautious coming into turn 1, but we'll see how it all goes heading into turn 2 and turn 3, which will be that little chicane afterwards. But coming through the final section now, the grid forms up for the final time this season. Ready for race 8 of 8. And the green flag waves at the Nürburgring. Dutton already covering around the outside. Turner with a brilliant boost down the inside of Turner. Sorry, that was Turner. He's ahead of Peters now, down the inside. And he's going to take the race lead. Is it going to be done by the time it hit turn 1? Peters lets Booty through. And that is going to be Turner up ahead. But that's Bobbins, who's lost control at the back of the pack. And there's chaos now. That's Bobbins. There's Jackson losing ground to Puller. There's Taylor now round the outside of the Ferrari. There's Davies sending it down the inside, and he is almost sideways as well. This is intense racing at the back of the pack, but they've all managed to keep it somewhat clear. Huben's made up a position. Morris has dropped all the way down. What's happened to Morris? He's dropped. There's Davies now in the Mercedes, almost taking out the Ferrari as well. All sorts of things happening down the back of the pack. So Morris then, his chances at taking the championship win are deteriorating rapidly. Huben has managed to stay out of trouble for the most part, but it's still somewhat tentative. This is Peters now on Booty. And Turner had an absolutely massive start. That was an absolutely brilliant performance. Turner starting P4, and he's suddenly jumped all the way up to P1 in that blue McLaren. We're seeing some positions dropping, and that looks like Matthews dropping down the grid. Matthews in that interesting multicolour Ferrari, and he's dropped down a couple positions. Hubin has also just conceded a position. He's not far behind though, but things do seem to be a little kinetic at the moment, all over the place. Jackson is on the tail of Fox. We've seen the little reputation Fox has had previously with the rest of the grid. Now, don't pay attention to the leaderboard on the left-hand side of your screen, because that is currently, at the moment, that's not right. So give that a second to settle. But as it is, the grid seems all shaken up, and I'm not sure whether we see some huge ramifications for the championship yet. Because I know that car ahead is not going to be Taylor, that is going to be Fox. Behind him is going to be Taylor. So Jackson ahead of Taylor. Fox, there's Puller ahead of Bubbins, so Bubbins might have had a horrendous run. So yeah, as it sounds, it's Turner, Booty, then Peters for the Pro Class leaders. Then Verbrew, Ty, and finally... Oh, someone's gone off into the gravel in the foreground. That's going to be Fox as well. Jackson, look around the outside, down the hill. And oh my goodness, it is going to be tight. And Jackson maybe backs out just a little bit. And here we go. Now the standings have all somewhat corrected themselves. As we said before, it's Turner, then Booty, then Peters for the Pro Class Championship. Someone else has hit the gravel. Oh my goodness, they've just avoided that wall. They've gone straight over. Who is that? Jackson getting the run. That looks like McElwain going off in the gravel a bit earlier. Jackson now on the outside of Fox into the double left-hander. Let's see who comes out on top. He's got a little bit of speed and is by before they hit the braking zone. Beautiful run from Jackson around the outside to take P9. And he's up a position within his class. That was not just a inter-class position change. That was for position. A little further back, there's a great battle developing between Taylor and Bubbins. Looks like Taylor just lost a position. So Taylor then has lost 2 positions, in fact, to Puller and Bubbins. Let's have a quick look at what happened there for a second. We can't, because Bubbins is having a little look down the inside of Puller, but he's a little far back. This is going to be a Pro-Am on an Am, but we'll come back to that action in just a second. Let's have a look at what happened previously. So, oh, he just went wide. Just driver error, potentially. We'll have a look at the contact list, but I suspect it won't show anything useful. Yeah, nothing of consequence, really. 74 and 420. That's going to be Verbrew and someone else. So, yes, there was no contact between Taylor and this group of drivers. So unfortunately that then is Taylor losing out a couple positions. But here they are together once again. And Fox just ahead. Now we've seen Fox's reputation precede him before. But I don't think we'll have to worry about that now, because it seems like Puller won't have to worry about that Ferrari anymore. As Bubbins hits the wall on the straight. That seems like a very odd position. That's a very odd place to lose control of your car. Now, is that going to be... That is a lot of damage to the front. So, yes, that is really unfortunate for Bubbins then. Car 65 in the blue Ferrari. Losing control behind the BMW of Puller. Now the grid does open up a bit, except between Warburton and Davies. Warburton in that Aston Martin, the fiery Aston Martin behind the green and blue Mercedes. And we were talking about liveries earlier. Quick analysis, I like the Mercedes. Done. Moving on, the Mercedes is going to be trying to keep that Aston Martin behind him. And it is going to be close racing, and forcing your way past through this final section is not great. But there it is, Davies going all sideways. Not sure whether the Aston Martin was involved, but Warburton got past somehow. Rucroft also having a look down the inside now. He's weaving between these two, and Warburton has let both of them by. So Warburton then, I think, was... apologies. Warburton seems to be somewhat responsible for what happened because he's let both of them through. So Warburton then ultimately loses a position. Davies maintains his position and Rucroft gains one. Down at the bottom, the leaderboard for P16 overall, but then P3 for the podium, and that's Warburton into the wall again. What is happening? Now it's Matthews hounding that Aston Martin. I'm not wondering whether that Aston Martin now has damage to his steering, so he'll have a loss of grip. Does seem a little all over the place, but Matthews himself also seems a little ragged around the edges. Just the, or more specifically, ragged around the front of his hood. And Morris has just dropped a couple positions. I thought I saw a little bit of damage. Let's see what happened to him. Oh my goodness, and that's Fox involved again! Oh my goodness! And then it was Morris going all slidey just before they hit that second carousel. And now we're on the straight for the first time this race, and Fox is trying to squeeze Morris, or at least just tuck in behind his slipstream. Now does Fox get the move done? Looking down the inside, they have no quarrel though because they are in two completely different classes. Morris is getting slightly out of shape on the braking there, but I think we'll see a good couple drivers dive into the pits this lap, or if not, the next lap there's Booty diving into the pits for an early pit stop, which leaves it as Turner, Dutton and Peters as our top three for the Pro class. And an eventful first lap, to say the least. Who has gained a position? Almost everyone has gained at least 2 positions. Peters losing out 1 position. Jackson up 2 positions. Verbrew up 5 positions. And then it's going to be Puller and Manchip both gaining 4 positions. So great gains being seen by everyone. Morris actually up 9 positions. Of course, he had poor qualifying, so he's still got a positive qualifying, but the big loser is going to be Booty, be out down 18 positions, but that is because of his pit. So then ultimately it's Bobbins 13 positions, Broom 2 positions, so we can't really comment on who's lost the most positions, but we can definitely see that Morris is the one who's made the most progress. But the problem is that he has not made any progress on Peters. He's still behind him, so that chance of winning the Pro Class Championship is still looking very unlikely. How about the Pro-Am class? Before we do that though, we do have a nice little trio here. We've got Warburton, then Rucroft, then Matthews, and Davies is just ahead as well. Little 4-man race going on here. And that is Matthews going down the inside for a move into the chicane. He's alongside by the time they hit the braking zone, but he backs out. It seemed as though... oh my goodness. Davies losing ground once again, and Matthews just rearing to get past. Rucroft allowing him there, but now Matthews down the inside into the Nordschleife section. And he's taken good advantage of Rucroft's position. Both of them had to back out. And there we go, Matthews gets the move done ahead by the time they hit that right-hander. A lot just happened there. So something happened to Davies earlier, and Davies is still sliding all over the place. That is not a good look. Oh my goodness, Matthews sliding around. Davies barely managing to keep the car pointing in the right direction. And there's Matthews off the track as well! And Davies again! So much has happened. We need to go back a full 60 seconds to see what has happened over the... oh my goodness! And Matthews collects Davies on the way past as well. Wow! let's have a look at what happened previously. This, unfortunately, just cuts back to this eventful section. So let's follow Davies. So coming through this right-hander, then the left-hander, under braking, slightly slidey through there. He's losing ground. There's Matthews going slightly slidey as well. Into the right-hander now. And there it is. Into the wall goes Matthews. And that's a very odd position as well for Davies to go off track. And then this happens as well. Look at this. Matthews comes past. Boom. A sign of bad blood between these two? Potentially. I don't know, but both Davies and Matthews are both in the pits at the moment. Both having time to think about their actions. Someone's dropping down the order. That looks like Ty, the Porsche, is lying wrecked in the first section of the racetrack. And that is also a very recent occurrence. Let's have a check on the cams. Oh my goodness. So hits the wall there. Carries on. But then has no steering. And oh my goodness, almost takes out McElwain as well. Parked across the track. And smart move there, pulling off the racing line. Reversing. Rather take the damage onto his own car. And there he is. Returned to pits. And oh my goodness, we've seen so many cars wreck their chances tonight. Looks like Verbrew and Jackson have just swapped positions. Puller is also looking to do the same thing. He's got a bit of a draft coming through these twisty sections of the final section of the racetrack. But it is approaching that time. Puller just taps the wall through that left-hander. Verbrew looking to make a position back on Jackson. Jackson is ahead in the championship standings. However, they are fighting pretty much at the top. So Verbrew would need to gain another 2 positions. But even then, he's not far enough. He's not gone far enough to take that position away from Jackson. The Pro-Am Championship win is not yet within grasp. So plenty of dreams shattered already tonight. And we've only been racing 15 minutes. Can you believe it? Puller getting a little jumpy behind Verbrew. Puller, though, he's exactly where he wants to be. Ahead of Huben by miles, might I add. Manship currently in P2. And Manship also really happy with where he is, I'm sure, at the moment. 5 positions ahead of Huben, who is his championship rival, ahead by only 1 point. So that little battle for championship position is there, but oh my goodness, Puller gives Verbrew a little tap on the rear, and they do manage to maintain control of their cars. And look at that, Morris up to P8 already. Look at that, he's absolutely flying. There's Morris going down the inside, under braking. He's got the compression, so he can slam on the brakes a little harder through there, and he's passed. Wow, that was quick, and Morris is absolutely flying up the field tonight. That insane driver making insane moves as he moves up the field. And he is still on a rampage, still chasing Puller. He's going to make a move soon. He is riding those curbs like the hog rider or the curb rider. And he's gone for a trip through the grass, sampled the German soil, and straight back out onto track. Fortunately, no adverse effects really for him. It could have ended so much worse. But now out onto the straight. If he can maintain, I'd say within half a second is pretty good. He might not need to, but I was going to say if he maintains about half a second, then he can get a little bit of a tug on the main straight, a little bit of slipstream. He does now, but I don't think he'll need to pull it all the way down the straight as he comes round the outside, past the right side of the BMW, and that is going to be Morris up into P7. overall, and absolutely flying through the class standings overall. Morris absolutely flying through the grid, but it's not done. Puller wants that position back. He wants that insurance against Manship. He doesn't have it though. It was close, but Morris then slots in ahead of Puller. And the car now behind Puller is going to be Manship. An AM class championship racer, but Puller with a little bit of slipstream down into turn 1. He's still there, he's still there, he's still there, he's still there. Beautiful awareness from both drivers. Morris giving him the space he needs. Puller not quite backing out, even though his nose was not ahead by the time they hit the apex. But I think that's his chance over now. Morris has finally got a section of the track where he can just work his magic through the corners. And as long as he doesn't make a mistake, Puller won't have a reason to come past. As a couple more drivers hit the pits now. Manship and Taylor both hit the pits. So wow, an eventful 20 minutes of racing so far. We still have 40 more to go. Plenty of action still to come. If you look on the left hand side of your screen, we've already lost 3 drivers over the course of the race weekend. And Matthews also then tops off the list. 4 drivers now. He had a drive through, and I'm sure these drivers are all very frustrated with how the race has gone. No one likes a DNF, especially not these guys. Now, with all those DNFs, let's see how. Let's check how the championship standings are affected by the finishes at the moment. So Dutton, Peters, and Turner are currently P1, P2, P3 for the Pro Class. Peters is leading the championship. Now, Patrick is not in. Patrick's out of the picture. He's dropped this round, so he won't... Oh, sorry, he's withdrawn from this race, so he won't score any points at all. Which means that if Morris finishes, he needs at least 12 points. And as we saw, he's almost not finished, as he has a little tangle with Jackson. And once again, he can't get enough of that German soil, enough of that grassy soil. But a little further back, sorry, we've got a bit of action going on now between Jackson and Puller. Once again, Puller's caught up to the back of that Ferrari. It's going to be Ferrari on BMW. BMW pretty much on home turf back in Germany. Now, Puller's seen plenty of turf eating, plenty of soil sampling from the Ferrari ahead. But I suspect that gap is not going to be closing too rapidly too soon. But while they battle, we can still talk about the championship standing. So Peters is pretty much, he's guaranteed his position. Patrick is going to lose out. So Morris in that red Ferrari ahead. He just needs to finish the race. He needs at least 13 points to take P2 away from Patrick. But to win the championship, he would need 8 points more than Peters. So basically, he's just hoping for a crash from Peters. Doesn't matter where Peters finishes this race, as long as he finishes, he'll take the championship win. So at this stage, Morris is in quite a comfortable position. As long as he can just keep racing, just finish the race, that's all he needs to take P2. Then further back, it's going to be Booty and Turner battling for P3 in the championship. They're a whole 17 points behind Patrick, so they need to make 18 points or more, which is definitely going to be possible considering we only have 5 drivers in the Pro Class at the moment. So they just need to finish the race as well, and they'll be fine. But yeah, Booty and Turner, who is ahead? It is currently Turner in P3 ahead of Booty, but you see that little green little block of colour right next to some of the drivers' names? That means they've already done their pit stop for the race. So Booty went for a really early pit stop, which means that he'll have to fight through traffic now, potentially. And Turner then out ahead. might not have to fight through as much. So I'm not quite sure how Bootsy's kind of strategy call has gone, unless he had some sort of damage, but he was quite high up when he made that pit stop. So then that will be the battle for P3 in the championship. Bootsy and Turner currently on exactly the same amount of points. So that is for the Pro Class Championship. However, something has occurred to me that potentially the driver in P4, because of Patrick's absence, if that driver's not too far off, Lavanos, no, I suspect it's too far for him to take a position. So yes, as it stands, it would be Turner. But, of course, we've seen that pit stop stuff happening, so it could still be up for grabs, that P3 in the championship. And, of course, if Peters then and Morris finish where they are and they finish the race, then they'll be fine. They both maintain their positions in the championship as P1, P2. But then, yeah, it's going to be the battle for P3, Booty and Turner. As Jackson gets a little out of shape, he decides to take a little sample for himself as well. Now, speaking of the Pro-Am class, Jackson is our Pro-Am class leader. As we see Puller in the background also getting a little out of shape. But yeah, Jackson currently 179 points. He needs to finish. Oh my goodness, and that's Morris facing the wrong direction. What has happened to that Ferrari driver? Can we get a little replay of what happened? Let's see. Oh my goodness, he's sliding all over the place. Is this his dream over? Let's see. So, chasing McElwain in the Ferrari ahead. Coming through the left-hander. You can see he is on the limit. He is pushing the car as hard as he can, and just a simple mistake there. Fortunately, he keeps it out the walls. That's the most important thing. Straight round. Back racing again. And yes, that is an unfortunate turn of events for the Ferrari. Also sliding out of that corner. But at least he doesn't have any damage or any major damage to the car. However, I've just noticed that Peters and Dutton are way out ahead, about 16 seconds ahead of Turner, having their little battle. 0.3 seconds separating these two on the main straight. Dutton in the ultimate spicy sausage machine, and Peters offering RJB solutions. But at the end of the straight, it looks like there is once again a larger deficit between these two. Dutton, though, with a little bit of a rough exit. Is this Peters' chance? Not quite by the time they hit turn 1. Meanwhile, Puller and Jackson have just swapped positions. Puller now up into P5. Overall, Jackson down to P6. Now, the reason Puller is potentially driving so hard is trying to put Jackson between him and, well, I was going to say Manship. Manship, of course, pitted a little earlier. Him and Warburton, but there is about a 6-car gap between them. Speaking of Warburton, he's having an epic drag race now with Fox down in P9. The two HSR Motorsport branded cars fighting their way down that long straight. It is an AM class driver on a Pro-Am class driver. So once again, multi-class battling, but they do this because they want to obviously not lose time behind these other guys, but they also want to have those drivers behind them as insurance, you know, just in case someone comes up behind them or other championship rivals, you know, they just want that sandwich just to make sure they can keep them further behind. But that then is going to be Warburton up a position as Fox dives into the pits. But it is still there. What happened? Dutton and Peters just swapped. Let's have a quick look at the replay if it's on. So Dutton ahead as they come through the Michael Schumacher curves. into the left-hander. Must have been some sort of driver error. And he just completely loses it on the braking. Just goes straight on through the left-hander and gives the position straight over to Peters. So that is then our new race leader, Peters taking P1 and Dutton dropping down to P2. So a little interesting thing going on there. But now these two, who have come out of the pits quite recently, Ty and Malott, Ty in the Porsche machine ahead. He does seem to be gapping Malott by quite a quick rate though. So that is not going to necessarily be something to watch. Morris comes into the pits to do his pit stop. Jackson and Verbrew likewise. So sorry, let's get back to the Pro-Am class championship standings. So Jackson then coming out of the pits now. He is leading the championship standings by 4 points from Verbrew. However, Jackson has still managed to come out ahead of Verbrew even after the pit stop, and Verbrew has also taken his pit stop, so then it's still going to be Jackson ahead of Verbrew. So it's not likely to change there. Verbrew would need to finish 4 positions ahead of Jackson in order to take the championship win. However, Jordan is not racing, and he is P3 in the championship. There was only 2 points separating him and Verbrew, which means that Taylor then is going to take P3, but he needs to make up 9 positions on Verbrew. But I suspect Taylor is still in, fortunately, but he is definitely not going to be making up 9 positions. There aren't even 9 positions to make up. There's about 7 that are available, and unfortunately 7 is less than 9 if you know your maths. So then it kind of stays where it is. Jackson, then Verbrew, and then Taylor for our Pro-Am class championship standings. However, here at the Nordschleife, the race standings are McElwain, then Jackson, then Verbrew. So again, some familiar names, but also McElwain getting up there. Now, we just saw that Nissan GTR in the background come by. Mr. Huben, currently P13 overall. Sorry, that is Verbrew, not Huben. Huben is just above, P12. Huben currently in P3 for his class. And I think Huben has just managed to barely stay ahead of his championship rival Manship. So looking at the points, Pulla is on 182 points. Pulla in that BMW we saw earlier. He's currently leading the championship by 7 points from Huben, and Huben is currently about 7 positions below him. And there's a smart move from Verbrew on Huben. Huben just making sure he's not going to collide, and he's properly obeying the blue flag rules. So good to see the Nissan GTR driver driving fairly, but he is only 1 point ahead of his championship rival Manship, who's currently in P15. And earlier, Huben had a really horrible qualifying session. He did not set a time, so he started dead last, but Manship started way ahead. And now Manship is right near the bottom of the grid, and he has a stop and go. So Huben might just hang on to his championship position P2 in the AM class. Now Manship isn't really on the threat from Rucroft, because Manship is 9 points ahead of the McLaren driver. Now obviously that's if these drivers finish the race. There's still half an hour left to make a mistake as Bubbins comes into the pits, and of course Manship still has a stop and go 30. So as long as they can keep the frustration out of their minds and keep a cool head, then it will be fine. As long as they finish, that's the main goal. Just as long as you finish, then you'll score points and you won't lose them. It's when you leave. Oh my goodness, and that's Huben into the wall. As we were just saying, he's gotten back onto the track. Any major damage? Left front seems alright. Rear slightly scratched. I think it was the left front that was... No, sorry, it was the right front that was affected. The hood is slightly scratched as well. That doesn't seem too bad. The damage doesn't seem too heavy on the steering, at least. So it should all be good for Hubin. We were just chatting about his performance and hoping that he does all right. But meanwhile, we have a three-way battle developing now for P7. It's going to be Fox and the McLaren ahead, then the two Ferraris behind of McElwain and Morris. McElwain in the white, looking down the inside into the right-hander. Fox has had a really horrid run through there, or he's just lifted to let the two Ferraris through because he knows that's not his fight, except that McElwain is in the same class, so it is his fight. So I don't know what Fox has just done. I don't know what has just happened. But McElwain lets Morris through, which is the logical decision, because Morris is the faster driver. Morris is in the Pro Class Championship. McElwain is in the Pro-Am. But yes, Fox then letting McElwain and Morris through. That was very odd. I don't know what happened there. Oh my goodness, and Morris almost into the wall again. He did touch it, but at least he didn't fly into it. He locked the brakes the moment he slid out at the carousel. That was a moment of panic for them, as Fox also does the same. Yes, he collects the barrier in the background quite heavily on the left-hand side. Oh my goodness, most we've seen on this track is not overtaking. It's not been tapping or crashing into others. It's been self-harm all night long. And of course, sampling the German dirt and soil as well as you know, the pollen count. Some people deciding, oh, they wanted to help out with that as well. But anyways, as we were saying earlier, this is Morris on Fox, 0.6 seconds. Obviously, they're going to swap around at some stage. But further down, Hubin and Taylor just had a little moment. So let's see what happened between these two. There was an overtake just a couple seconds ago. So into the carousel. Hubin's ahead, Taylor behind. Two different classes. Hubin in the AM class, Taylor in Pro-Am class. And Hubin going really slowly, but I think that was just to let Taylor round, just so he can continue his rampage up the field. So again, just really considerate driving from Hubin, unless he has some sort of technical difficulty or technical issue with his car, but it doesn't seem like it. He does still have to pit though, and we are more than halfway into the race. So I would, if I were him, I would pit now, because obviously he's had a couple shunts, he's gone off track, he's hit the wall somewhere, so he needs to get that fixed at some point. Now somehow I've been chatting for the last half hour. Warburton and Pollard both pull into the pits. But anyways, yes, talking about the drivers, Warburton isn't really on the cards when it comes to the championship. Pollard, however, needs to finish. Pollard is currently leading. Hubin... No, sorry, we already chatted about him. Sorry, apologies. We don't need to chat about that. We've already chatted about it. Pollard just needs to stay where he is. Hubin just needs to finish the race. Manship, well, he's 10 seconds behind Hubin, and he does have a new air vent in the front of his hood, and Manship has already pitted, so if he pits again, that's going to be an issue. And of course, he still has his stop and go 30. So really, he's not going to lose too much time if he just pits. And he is ahead of Rucroft, who would be the next driver to challenge him for his position, but Rucroft is 9 points behind, so there's not 9 positions to lose here. As long as Manship can cross that line and finish the race, he'll be fine. But yeah, really quite grid tonight then. 18 drivers left. We started with 22, we've lost 4. And that is unfortunate. I've just noticed Warburton has also gotten a stop and go 30 up in P4, currently P2 for the race. Sorry, Warburton isn't in P4, he's P11. Pullard is still ahead, but he's currently P5. So a little bit of a shake-up. Morris is once again trying to make a position on McElwain, P8, but we've seen how... I don't know what to call him, a cowboy? Another Morris the Menace. Sounds a lot better than Foxy the Menace, even though Foxy is still a menace. Morris is not a deadly menace, though. I mean, maybe to himself, but not too bad on the other drivers. But he is trying to make another position on McElwain and finally start challenging for those top positions in the Pro Class. And I just noticed, actually, that Booty and Turner are right behind each other in terms of positions, but Booty is a whole 10 seconds behind Turner, which is quite unfortunate. So that would mean that Booty loses out on P3 in the championship standings if they finish. So Turner then would take P3 in the championship, and Morris then, he's not 8 positions ahead of Peters. Peters is almost 8 positions overall, let alone class, ahead of him. And McElwain once again just letting Morris through. He's seen what Morris can do. He's seen how much soil Morris likes to sample. So he's decided, I'll leave you to your feasting, sir, and I shall pick up the scraps. Very sensible, I would say. And there's a little bit of a dust cloud kicked up by our own Foxy the Menace. We were chatting about him just earlier, number 80. And oh my goodness, he's collected a wall as well. We need to see what's happened here. And we've picked up the progress a little too late, unfortunately. He's pushed forward. Okay, so he's trying to turn his car the right direction. Here comes Jackson! And that's the dust cloud we saw earlier. So yes, a little incident for Mr. Fox. And that was Verbrew a little later coming over, and Fox is in the pits now as well. Is this his race over? I'm not sure. Probably. But we'll have to see. Peters then leads the race overall, but looks like Booty, in fact, he seems... Sorry, the timings just seem to be jumping all over the place. It was about 10 seconds previously to Turner ahead for P3 in the Pro Class Championship standings. So, yeah, kind of things jumping around a little bit on the leaderboard, but all settling down now. So, 20 minutes left in the race. I cannot believe we've managed to keep ourselves so busy with these drivers plonking themselves into the walls, hurling their pieces of fast metal. And we do have, to be honest, a fairly empty list, but that is probably because of, less drivers. And what is interesting is that there does seem to be contact between Verbrew and Fox. This is probably through that last overtake. Let's have a quick look at this. We'll be looking through plenty of contact now. So, this was the overtake from Verbrew. Oh, well, a little bit of payback, I would say, for a earlier incident during practice. Verbrew deciding, hey, I'm going to give you a little bit of your own medicine. This is what happened to me during practice. How you like this? Ugh. So, there could be a ticket filed on Verbrew for that. Because practice is practice, but race is race. And that might be what put Fox over the limit. So whether he gets going or not is going to be a serious question. And the gaps are still very similar. Then we have some contact between 69, which is Puller, and 323, which is Jackson. Let's have a look at what happened here. So through here, the BMW looking down the inside. Oh, a little tap. Oh, and that. Oh my goodness! And Jackson into the wall, fairly heavily. But you saw Puller pulling back, allowing Jackson to continue ahead. Great sportsmanship from our AM class championship leader. Great to see the sportsmanship between these guys. Then we've got an incident between Manship and 197, which is going to be Taylor. The two yellow cars coming together. Let's see what happened here in the mid class. Sorry, not the mid class. Mid grid. I'm not sure what you call it. In the middle, somewhere in the middle. Let's just call it that for now. I'll come up with a word in a second. Let's just watch this replay for a sec. So Manship in the Ferrari comes up on Taylor. Taylor doesn't see him, closes the door. Manship goes whee round and round into the barrier. I would put that on Taylor, definitely. Very unfortunate stuff. Hang on. Where's Hubin gone? I just checked the standings, and Hubin, it cannot be true. It is true. Hubin is behind Manship somewhere. We've missed it. Manship also similar to Morris, deciding to sample some fine German dirt and grass. Must be a Ferrari thing. But anyways, Hubin is behind Manship, who does have a stop and go 30 at least for Hubin. But yeah, what happened? Why is Hubin behind Manship? This would put Manship P2 in the championship standings. I don't know what's happened to Hubin. His front right headlight is flickering slightly, so I'm wondering whether that damage is having an adverse effect on his pace now, and a huge effect, or whether something has just happened that we weren't aware of. So that would mean it's Puller, Manship and Warburton for our top three. And Warburton is in the pits now. Why did Warburton just hit the pits? Did something happen? I'm not sure. Let's have a quick look. And that is a look at what happened to Mr. Warburton sitting in the pits. Nothing happened. I'm not sure. He had a stop and go 30. All I know is that. But yeah, he's gotten going again. So maybe he tried getting out of that stop and go 30, but he's still got that on his name. At least on the big leaderboards. Because obviously the one on the game does take a little while to reset. But yeah, it's going to be Manship then ahead of Hubin. But Manship does have some very visual damage on the front of his car. So we'll see whether Hubin can close that gap before the end of the race. 15 minutes to do so though, not plenty of time, and Manship still has to serve a stop and go 30 penalty. And McElwain now hitting the pits. I suspect something has gone wrong there. Or is he just the last driver to properly pit? I don't know, but we do have some contact between car 69 Puller and 74 Verbrew. That is very interesting. Let's have a look at that. So the BMW is Puller, the green McLaren is Verbrew. Coming down the inside, Verbrew. So I think it might have been the tap from behind that had done it. So interesting thing there. Now I am a little paranoid because obviously we've just seen Hubin and Manship swap positions. Manship is now into the pits. So let's have a look. Hubin out onto the main straight. Manship in the pits, holding in that yellow Ferrari. Does he make repairs and not refuel and not change his tyres to get back out ahead of Hubin, or does he take that extra little... Wow, this could be interesting. A final little battle for the P2 position in the championship standings for the AM class. Has Huben made the position? Coming round now. Manship has already exited the pits. So, yes, Manship stays ahead of Huben. And thus, if it stays like this, will take P2 in the championship standings. This is Huben now onto the main straight. And unfortunately you can't see it here, but they are within half a mile of each other. Or, if you wanted to do it the proper way, 30 seconds apart. So, yes, if Manship's damage is big enough, that could close quite rapidly. And McElwain does seem to be closing ground on Manship fairly quickly as well, or it just fluctuates a lot. That is an option as well. So, yeah, Manship then crucially stays ahead of Huben. So this could be another upset. So it started as Manship ahead during qualifying. Huben starting from the back of the pack, Manship somewhere near the front. And then during the race, Manship dropped behind and got a stop and go 30, while Huben just stayed consistent. And then something happened. I'm not sure what happened. Huben suddenly dropped behind Manship. And we are getting some rival support between the drivers. Gazmanian Devil going, well, he's shouting for Peters and Huben, while Riley is shouting for Manship. So there is a bit of a rivalry between Huben and Manship, probably between Peters and someone else, but at the moment not so much, because Morris is the nearest driver and he is a couple positions down from Peters, so not really challenging. So the championship standings for AM, I just addressed that as well. So Huben, if he finishes behind Manship, he's going to lose his second position. So Manship will then take P2 in the championship standings. So Huben, unfortunately, will lose out. And that's it. Like that's all there is. Puller still in P1 for both the championship and the race. Puller absolutely flying out ahead. 10 minutes left, so it's not likely to change unless something huge happens. But we have seen that happen before. And then for the Pro Class standings, that is actually relatively close. Turner and Booty, who were in P4 and P5 for the Pro Class Championship standings previously, of course, because Patrick has dropped out, that means they will be fighting for P3 in the championship. Booty currently following in the black Ferrari. And so then, Booty and Turner are on exactly the same amount of points. So whoever finishes above each other, well, whoever finishes ahead, will of course take P3 in the class standings. And at the moment, that is Turner. So Turner in P5 overall. Sorry, P5 in his standings, P3 overall. He will take P3 for the championship standings and, of course, P3 for this race. And I think I've just seen Warburton come out of the pits and get another stop and go 30. What is going on, sir? There is a yellow somewhere on track, though. Trying to see who's losing time. Is that McElwain? No, it isn't. Somewhere on track there's a yellow. Not sure where, though. But Booty is trying to close that gap. He's about 4 seconds off of Turner. So this is quite a close gap on track. And it is the closest gap on track. Closest one further on is 7 seconds. 5 seconds between McElwain and Manship. So Huben is still 30 seconds behind, so that's not likely to change either. Huben off of Manship, still not close enough to maintain his P2 position in the championship. So no changes for the championship win. However, there are plenty of battles for P2 and P3. Now in the Pro-Am class championship, it's all pretty much it's all pretty straightforward. Jackson P1, Verbury P2, Taylor P3. As it is on the podium, as they are now, that's how they will finish the championship as well. As long as... No, they should finish just like that, sorry. There's too many... there are too many points between the drivers for penalties to affect this at the moment. So as long as the drivers can keep it all clean for this last lap, 7 minutes left, that's about the time it takes for one lap. As long as these drivers can all keep it clean and safe and not crash, then I wouldn't have to do any last minute calculations to determine who wins the championship, yeah? So, you know, we'll have to see, but we've seen some stuff. We've seen some stuff from Morris in particular as well, who likes to he likes to take I'd say it's more than sample now. He likes to feast on the German soil. But anyways, moving on. I am interested to see whether we have any new podium finishes or not. But as it is, yeah, all fairly straightforward, hopefully. Except that Fox has hit the pit again. However, he's not involved in the championship battles, as far as I know of. And he is getting going again, by the sounds of it. And Morris is once again in the pits. This man has been on a roller coaster of a race. As it is, he's made up 13 positions overall. Next biggest winner is Puller, up 7 positions overall. And then Huben up 9 positions. But the greatest losers are going to be Bubbins and Ty, both down 9 positions. So kind of a bit of a topsy-turvy run. However, we could see a change in championship standings between these two, Booty and Turner. So Booty in the Ferrari, Taylor in that McLaren just ahead, that just left your screen. Now what is also of interest is that McElwain is currently battling Manchip for P10, 2 different classes. But if we see a mistake from either of them, Manchip hitting the wall or something like that, that could provide the gap for Huben. Let's have a look down the straight, the 2 Ferraris. That seems to be a fairly straightforward thing, because obviously Manchip knows that if he stays where he is, he wins he wins P2. He takes P2 in the championship, so he beats Huben if he stays where he is. So he took no chances with that. And Huben, in fact, has fallen behind. He's now 50 seconds behind Manchip. So it seems as though Manchip has it in the bag. Of course, he's got all that damage to the front of his car. And that could come back to bite him later. But as it is, he's looking fairly alright to take P2 in the championship. But we left these guys just a second ago. Booty and Turner battling. Oh my goodness, and that's a really slow exit for Turner. Oh my goodness, what has happened there? Booty suddenly takes P3 for the race and P3 for the championship. Oh my goodness. What has happened there? We need to have a look at that replay. So let's follow Turner. Coming out. Why does he just come to the inside? What's going on there? And he flashes his headlights, but that doesn't seem to be in a malicious fashion. What's gone on? That gap was closing, and I thought that was just Booty having an absolute cracker of a race, finding his pace.
Okay, the leader is on the final lap now. Give it all you can.
And there we go, the announcement that the leader's on the final lap. So all of these drivers now on their final lap, and it will take a while for everyone to get around the track. But yeah, this sudden position change between Turner and Booty. So Turner then will not be taking P3 in the championship. It will be Booty taking P3 in the championship standings. Wow. Fortunately, not a massive recalculation, but a recalculation nonetheless, though. Meanwhile, for the rest of the grid, it all stays fairly standard, though. So that makes my job a little easier. But Peters then leading the grid round on the final lap. And he's had a really quiet race. Maybe just a little tussle with the ultimate spicy sausage. That is Dutton in the Lexus, who is now 30 seconds behind after a little lock-up under braking after the Schumacher curves. But Peters then maintains P1 in both the championship and the race. So he's had a fairly straightforward one. He comes to the final parts of the circuit now, and we'll be back with him when he crosses the finish line. Now, interestingly, Manship is caught up to the back of McElwain to come flying through those right-handers. Now, of course, we've had this chat loads of times. Manship and Huben, championship rivals. Manship will currently take the championship P2 position. However, if he fights with McElwain and ends up making a mistake, that could cost him. So, Riley, just saw your question. Yes, there will be prize money. I assume it will just be announced in the normal fashion. So if you check the Discord, I know you're on there, Riley, then you'll know exactly how it all works. As for me, I'm trying to save my voice for Peters to cross the finish line so I can give him a proper championship winning voiceover. Not that I will do a voiceover, but we'll see how it goes as he comes down the final. He's already there. He's almost at the finish line. So Peters then coming round the final section of the racetrack. It's been an awesome season, an awesome inaugural season for the RJB Solutions driver. He has pitted all of his rivals every single race. It is finally time to take the checkered flag once more. The checkered flag waves at the Nürburgring. Kurt Peters wins round 8 and the championship of season 3. Congrats to Kurt Peters for an awesome season. An incredible performance. Now, not far behind is going to be Turner and Booty. And they swapped positions again, and it's Turner still ahead. No, sorry, Turner retook that position somewhere. So while we were, celebrating Peters' victory, there's going to be Turner celebrating P3 in the championship. So there goes Turner taking P3 for the championship. A podium finish for the blue McLaren. Now, what we don't often see is the BMW of an AM driver crossing the line before the Pro-Am driver, but it happens here today, and the checkered flag waves once more for the final time this season for Puller, who wins the AM Class Championship as well. And no celebration from the German. No celebration from the driver in the German car, shall I say. I don't know whether it's German. But straight into the pits then. Congrats to Puller and Peters who have crossed the line. Now it's Jackson who will be the next winner today as we just wait for him to get to the end of the straight. And Jackson comes through the final couple sections. He was not hoping for a higher position than P5, but he has managed to get more than a P5 finish. This is Jackson taking the checkered flag. It waits for the final time for a winner, and it is Jackson who wins here at the Nürburgring for round 8 and the championship. Congrats to our championship winners then, Peters, Jackson and Puller, our Season 3 championship winners. And just in case you were wondering about the rest of the grid, this is Manchip still ahead of Huben. In fact, he is now more than a minute and 20 seconds ahead. And that is the end of our race tonight. Now, what a championship it has been, and what a final race it has been as well. An absolutely incredible season and an absolutely incredible race to finish it off as well. So then, our championship winners and podium finishes: Peters, Peters, and then Morris, and then Turner for our Pro Class Championship winners. Then for the Pro-Am class, it's going to be Jackson, Verbrew, and Taylor. And finally, but definitely not least, is going to be the Am class, which is Puller, then Manship, and then Huben. Congrats to all our championship winners and podium finishers, and everyone who has finished the championship as well. You all still stand a chance at winning some prize money, but of course that won't be broadcasted at the moment. But that then is the end of an incredible season of racing. Season 3 is over. So I get 2 weeks to reset, 2 weeks for my vocal cords to recover. And I will see you guys again Friday evenings, 7 PM BST, for another couple weeks of racing. And I'll see you there. Good night.